What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Rams Faithful Podcast. This is episode number 10. So, 10 episodes in. We got a few weeks left in the season. Rams just came off a big win. Jordan, how do we feel?
Feeling really good win against the Lions. Tough opponent, but really big win. Clinched a playoff spot, which is great. And we got a tough opponent this week against the Seahawks, so hopefully we're ready Thursday night.
Yeah, short week. By the way, I did want to mention that we're both wearing our throwback stuff today. So if there's any fans watching this from St. Louis, shout out. I got the Santa hat on today. Jordan's rocking the Sammy B jersey. So we're representing from LA and St. Louis. But the guy on my jersey had another touchdown. We got to talk about it. I know we talk about Blake Corum every single week, but if he keeps playing like this, I think we got to talk about him every single week. I mean,
hmm
what's there not to talk about? He's been phenomenal. He's been just as good as Kyren Williams. And like I said last week, they've been like a 1A and 1B duo. They're not like a 1 and 2 duo. You know what I mean? Would you agree
For
with that?
sure. Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. Lately, for sure, it's been that way. I think their touches are pretty comparable. McKyron might get a little bit more, but it's pretty even mostly.
Yeah, the last 2 weeks before yesterday, Kyron had actually more carries, but Corum had more yards. Blake Corum's been phenomenal. I tried to tell people this when we drafted him that he's a very good player. I was shocked he fell to the third round back in 2024. So I was really happy we got him as a Michigan fan, but he's been great. There's so much to talk about offensively. The only really negative aspect I think we can really talk about is the injury to star receiver Devontae Adams. Have you heard anything about that since yesterday?
No, not specifically. I just know he's battling a hamstring thing, so I would really doubt if he plays this Thursday night against the Seahawks, but I haven't heard anything for sure yet. I will say obviously we want him for the Seahawks game, but if he misses that game, okay, take a couple of weeks, maybe play the last game against the Cardinals a little bit to get warmed back up. And then you might have that first round bye in the playoffs too. So there is time for Devontae to get healthy. The Seahawks will be a challenge, but I don't want to sound arrogant, but I think we can beat the Seahawks even without Devontae Adams. Tutu Atwell has always stepped up when players have been injured in the past. So that was an amazing catch by I know he had only 1 catch for, I think, 9 yards on the game, but that catch by Tutu was crazy yesterday, like, for real.
Yeah, that was nice. I thought for sure when it happened, I thought it hit the ground and then he picked it up and I just thought it was incomplete. And then they were like, oh, what a grab by Tutu. I was like, why did he didn't catch that? And then they showed the replay and he did. So that was a really nice grab. But speaking of Tutu Atwell, like you said, if Devontae Adams is out Thursday night against Seattle, do we expect a bigger role out of Tutu Atwell, who just came off of IR, made his return this past week, only 1 catch? Do we expect a bigger role out of him Thursday night?
I mean, to a certain extent, yes. I'm not saying he's gonna replicate anything Devontae has done as far as big plays or touchdowns per se. But I expect him to have a few catches and maybe make a big play or a big touchdown because he's very capable. He's a really good speedster and he's a tough cover. So if they leave him one on one, Stafford's not afraid to take shots at Tutu. He's done it before a bunch of times. And, I like how Xavier Smith has actually played this year too. So him and Jordan Whittington, they'll all kind of fill in that role. We were doing a lot of, 3 tight ends again, so I'm sure we'll get all 3 tight ends, maybe even a little I know, Nick Vanette's played a little bit, not anything crazy, but maybe a little bit of him as well, so we'll be okay even without Devontae.
Yeah, that's another position where we're a bit banged up in is the tight end position. Tyler Higbee's been out for a few weeks, but Colby Parkinson has stepped up and taken that spot very, very well. 7 touchdowns in his last 6 games, 2 touchdowns yesterday against the Lions. I mean, he couldn't really you can't really ask for anything better from Colby Parkinson. and then he does a little dance in the end zone. That's pretty cool too. So 2 touchdowns, won us a game because we won by 1 touchdown. I mean, were you expecting this from Colby Parkinson when Tyler Higbee went down?
When Tyler Higbee went down, no, but I will say I have noticed a trend over the past couple of weeks, that he's been, performing. Like you said, this wasn't the first game he's, like, had a good game. I'm a fantasy guy, so over the past 5 weeks heading into this game, he was averaging 11 fantasy points per game. So that's pretty good from a tight end perspective, and I was a little shorthanded and played him on my fantasy team going into this week,
No
and
way.
he popped off. He had, like, 2 touchdowns, I think, and, like, 70 yards. Parkinson, he's been killer for us, and one thing why I think was the main reason we brought him in, he's a spectacular run blocker. Like, he's almost like a sixth lineman out there, very similar to Higbee in that aspect. So, I'm a big fan of what Parkinson has done this year. I thought last year I was like, "Man, this is a terrible contract. He's not worth it. He's not making plays." And then this year it's been the complete opposite. He's been amazing in the run blocking, and he's been great in the passing game as well lately. It's been amazing, from Parkinson, and I think he'll continue to have big opportunities in the passing game while Higbee and, Adams are out.
Yeah, I thought the same thing as you with his contract last year. When they gave him that contract, an off season or 2 ago, I was like, "Why are we doing this? We have Higbee. We don't need to pay Colby Parkinson this money for this amount of years." It didn't make any sense, but thankfully they did that because he has stepped up in a huge way. And another thing about the tight end position, how do we feel about Terrence Ferguson? Because he was our early second round pick this year. We traded our first round pick, so he was our first selection in the 2025 NFL draft. How do we feel about his performance so far this season? I know he's not playing as big of a role as maybe we thought he would, but what are your overall thoughts on Ferguson so far?
I like what I've seen from, Ferguson. We play, 13 personnel more than any team in the league, statistically speaking. So Ferguson has gotten a lot of playing time, especially since Higbee has been out. I noticed this week we were kind of playing, it was a little strange, a 12 personnel, but Ferguson was playing on the, right side wide out.
Okay.
So, he's got that ability to play at the receiver position as well and make big plays. I don't wanna play the blame game, but I feel like Stafford has missed him on a lot of these opportunities too, so, it goes both ways. I think he's really young and, Stafford has played in this league forever, so he's probably knows where Ferguson should be on some of these passes, and it's just about timing and, give it some more time. I expect him to make big plays throughout the rest of the year. I think he'll be more of a long-term player for us right now, especially with the way Parkinson's playing. If Higbee comes back, Davis Allen was making some really good plays too, so it's tough when everyone is making plays to go out there and have, gaudy numbers every week. So Ferguson's been great run blocking once again. Everyone has been killer in the run blocking aspect, which has made life so easy on Kyron and Blake Corum. So, keep it up, Terrence Ferguson. Play your role in the run blocking, and when your opportunities come in the passing game, try to continue to make the most of it. And I expect him to do that. I don't think he's afraid of the big moment. I think he's very capable and will make those plays when the time comes.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. He almost had a touchdown yesterday, but there was a holding penalty in the end zone. We end up scoring anyways. Um, definitely something to look at, I think, for the future as well, because Tyler Higbee, age-wise, is getting up there soon. I believe it's the same with Colby Parkinson. So Terrence Ferguson could be the number 1 tight end a few years down the line unless something else happens, which with Les Snead and Sean McVay, you can't ever rule out, they swing a big trade here and there or something. So you can't ever rule that out. But Terrence Ferguson's going to have a bigger role in the next few years. So I would like to see him get involved a little bit more, but he's doing his role. He's doing a good job, just like pretty much everybody on this offense right now. And another thing I wanted to point out that you mentioned, Stafford missing him a little bit, like you said, not trying to play the blame game or whatever, but he has missed him a few times. He missed him wide open on what would have been a touchdown early in the game. But that was the thing about that drive where we scored our first touchdown. We did not look perfect. There was a lot of, like the offense just didn't look crisp, if that makes any sense. Like Stafford was just missing guys weren't making catches. Puka had a drop on that drive. And it was a little bit, it worried me a little bit because it was only our second drive of the game. But I'm glad they ended up scoring 7 because if you're a good team or a great team even when you don't play 10 out of 10 football or you're not playing, A+ football at that point and you still put up 7 points, that's a good sign. So they converted on 4th down twice that drive as well, on 4th and 4 and 4th and 8. So
Mhm.
speaking of those 4th down conversions, on both of them they went to Puka Nacua, who also went down with an injury at some point in the game, but he came back. Thankfully, that wasn't as serious as it looked because he got up and then he, like, collapsed, and it looked
Yeah.
really scary. So, have you heard anything about him? I think he's 100% good to go.
Yeah, Puka, he'll be okay. He had really bad cramps, it was just a long game and kind of had taken a toll on him. So he just kind of like I think got the wind knocked out of him a little bit in a sense, and his body just kind of cramped up on him. But he's ready to go and he'll be good for Thursday night's game for sure against Seattle. I definitely expect Puka to play. Adams, I would say, will be probably listed as out. Maybe doubtful, but I will be shocked if he plays.
Yeah, I would be surprised if Adams played too, which is a big loss on the offense, but we saw this offense without Puka Nacua, for a week, and they looked great. So there's no reason they can't look just as good without Devontae Adams, but they're not playing just any defense. I think the week Puka was out, we were playing Jacksonville. This defense is a lot better than Jacksonville. This is the Seattle Seahawks, arguably the best defense in football.
Mhm.
Does that worry you at all that even though we've put up 40 points in back-to-back weeks, we have to go against the Seahawks defense?
He's I What worries me is I don't wanna get behind and Stafford and McVay be like, "Okay, we gotta win this game passing the football," and get pass happy and abandon Blake Corum and Kyron Williams, which I really feel like is I don't wanna say the strength of the football team when you have the league MVP and are dominating the passing game like we are, but when you can lean on the running back duo like we can, that really, puts a defense on edge, and I think opens up the passing game even more so than like, it would be before with the play action. So I would really like to just see us stick with running the football. I think we can do it. I think we're capable with the 13 personnel. We beat Seattle once this year, and I didn't think we played our best game that game, and we still beat them. So we played great defensively. I think that will continue into this game. I know we've had our struggles lately with some wide receivers and gave up 34 points, but this was a pretty dynamic group. And I'll speak from I can't speak for Chris Shula, but from what I saw, they were like, okay, we're not going to let y'all run the football, right? We're going to stop Jameer Gibbs. We're going to limit David Montgomery, and we're going to dare Jared Goff to beat us. And he did a great job for the most part. I think the pressure started getting there in the second half, which, made a big difference. But I think speaking on the Seattle game, even without Devontae Adams, we'll find a way to win. And I trust McVay and Stafford. I just hope they don't abandon the running game and, try to, beat yourself in a way. I hate it when we beat ourselves.
Feel like they tried to do that after going down 7-0 because they had a good stop on the missed field goal from Bates. They were driving down the field, but then the Hutchinson interception completely shifted the momentum early in the game. Then the very next play, Goff finds Williams in the back of the end zone, and we're down 7-0. All of a sudden, I think McVay was like, all right, we got to go and tie this game now. So they weren't running the ball at all that drive, and they were really, really aggressive, which I wasn't a huge fan of until they finally started mixing in the run later in the drive when they got past midfield. They mixed in Corum and Williams a little bit, and that opened up, like you said, that opens up the passing game for Puka, Devontae, especially Puka because he caught the ball on fourth down both times that drive. So it was perfect, and then they ended up running into the end zone with Kyren Williams to tie the game. Like we said, you got to mix in the run. So it was a great statement drive. I think it was either you or my dad. I texted. I said we need a statement drive right here, and they did that. They did that perfectly, and then they did that the next drive too, going up 14-10. So I'm not trying to say, oh, I'm not trying to say I predicted the game perfectly because I didn't, but I figured it would be high scoring, and I figured it would remind us a little bit of that Buffalo Rams game last year where we won 44-42. The Rams score was pretty close. The Lions put up 34. I had the Rams winning 34-29. So I had the 34 part correct, but not for the right team. The Rams ended up scoring 41. So honestly, I think it should have been 41-27 because their last touchdown, I don't know if you saw, but
Mhm.
the pass interference call on Forbes
Yeah.
was not pass interference. Would you agree with that?
No, yeah, definitely. I didn't think so either, and I know Forbes has had his struggles. I feel like he's kinda getting targeted a little bit right now, but, it's just part of playing cornerback. They're so hard on these cornerbacks nowadays. It's tough. It's tough with the referees. It's always tough.
Forbes has been he is a huge part of this defense right now because Darius Williams is, I feel like, personally, is not having his best season. Akello Witherspoon's coming off an injury. You can't throw him right back into the fire and be their number one corner right away, especially against a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown or Jameson Williams, guys like that. Um, McCreary is back on IR. He's going to be done for the year, I'm pretty sure. So there's a lot going on right now in our secondary. So Forbes, I think, uh, has done a good job. I think he could do a little bit better. I'd like to see him step up a little bit more like he was those few weeks where he looked like he was for sure our number one corner. I think he's just getting a little bit overworked right now. I don't think it's anything to panic about. Did he have a bad game against Carolina? Yeah, but he's been a little bit better since. He's had his moments, but that shouldn't have been pass interference on that last drive that Detroit scored on. That should have been the game right there. And the final score probably should have been 41-27, to be honest. And Forbes would have had a big fourth down stop. So I'm happy with how everything's looking. But the rest of the defense, I don't know if you'd agree with me, but I thought they played their worst half of the whole season in the first half of this game. I was not satisfied with how they looked in the first half, but what are your thoughts on that? Would you agree with that?
It was tough from speaking from the first half perspective. Uh, they kinda got into a good rhythm after that whole, missed field goal. They got the interception and then scored the first play, like you said, and then they were really kinda on it for the rest of the first half. It wasn't really till the second half where the defense started getting there with the pressure. Um, I am a little bit concerned with the pass rush and the secondary because it kinda goes hand in hand. I feel like, yes, the secondary hasn't quite been good enough, and you'd like them to be a little bit more locked in and playing tighter, but also, I would like the defensive line and, really the edge and interior both, and we're even throwing in some blitzing, and we're just not quite getting there as much as I feel like we should be. Uh, it's tough when you have to get there right away. It's tough when you have to cover for over 3 seconds, but, you just gotta find a way defensively, and it's tough when you're going against a team like Detroit. You're not gonna play an offense like that every week, so be it what it may. We'll see how it's looking this week against Seattle, another big test, like, we played great against them last time. I expect the defense to bounce back. This is a huge game right here. So, kind of jumping ahead, we'll see how locked in the defense is with another big test.
Yeah, I would agree with the pass rush. I don't think it's been top tier or at least as good as it should be, especially against a quarterback like Goff who is known for not being as good when there's pressure on him. I mean, we know that, firsthand because he was a Ram, which by the way, uh a little bit off topic, but I heard the announcer yesterday, Kevin Burkhardt, whatever his name is, he said that Goff has been a Lion longer than he was a Ram. Is that correct?
Mm,
He's
2021 to 20, I think this is his fifth season with the Lions, and he was with us from
six
2016 to 2020. So it's either the same or one more year with the Rams, but I don't think that's right. It's about the same.
because I think maybe he was going by games played because if you take 2016 in consideration, he only played the last 7 games of the year.
Right. And he
So
missed some games with injuries too throughout
right,
the stint.
right. So maybe he was talking about games played, which that wouldn't surprise me
I
because if
think that is true. I
yeah,
have seen that statistically.
but that feels weird that he's been a Lion longer than he was a Ram. It felt like he was a Ram for like I don't know if this is just me. It felt like he was around for like 7 or 8 years. I don't know
Yeah.
why,
No,
but
I agree for sure. It felt like he was here a long time, for sure.
yeah, it didn't feel like he was only here for 4.5 seasons or whatever it was, but that just caught me off guard. I was sitting there like, "There's no way that's right," but anyways, like I was saying, Goff, we know it firsthand experience because he was a Ram. We know that he's not as good when the pocket collapses and there's a little bit more pressure on him. I don't want to say he panics, but we saw it a little bit yesterday too. When we did get pressure, he would just immediately get rid of the ball. And we aren't sacking the quarterback enough as much as I'd like to. Um, I want to give a little bit of a hot take. Uh, I know this might be an unpopular opinion amongst Rams fans, but I'm not happy with the way Jared Verse has played this season. I'm really not. I'm not hating. I'm not saying he's not good. I'm not saying he's overrated. That's not what I'm saying at all. He's a great player. I love Jared Verse, but I was after his rookie season, I was expecting Jared Verse to be like in the running for defensive player of the year, and we're just not getting that season for him. And it's not like he's getting the Aaron Donald treatment because does he get double teamed here and there? Yeah. But it's not like how it was with Donald, where, oh, Aaron Donald would only have single digit numbers in sacks because he was getting double teamed or triple teamed every single play. No, he's just not getting enough pressure. Or when he is, when the other team runs the ball or something, he gets through too quick, and it's the point where the running back is like he runs past the running back almost. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I feel like I need to see more from Jared Verse. I know it's only his second year in the NFL, but as the reigning defensive rookie of the year, I would like to see more out of him going into this playoff push and helping this defense step up. Would you agree with that? What's your take on my opinion?
I somewhat agree for sure. I do think you can't just solely look at the sack numbers. I'm not saying that's what you're
Right.
saying.
Right.
Um, Jared Verse, I do agree, with high expectations, you gotta meet him, right? He was defensive rookie of the year, so I agree with you. I came in expecting him to be in the running for defensive player of the year. I will say if you look at the odds maker, he is like somewhere in the top 10 range, but obviously he's not gonna win it, and I don't think he's quite where he should be, statistically speaking. I will say he's had his big games and his big moments. He had some big moments this game for sure. I think just as a whole defensively, we just kinda need to lock in more as a unit, and I almost was thinking this to myself when I was watching a Lions game yesterday. When we went to the Super Bowl in 2018, led by a great defense, and then in 2020, we had the number 1 defense in the league. 21 Obviously, we won the Super Bowl that year. That defense was special, of course. It had Aaron Donald, Von Miller, and,
Jalen
nothing
Ramsey.
nothing really more needs to be said after that. So, I feel like we're almost missing that, superstar, that elite level defensive player who can be like, "Okay, we need to lock in and make a play this drive." It's tough because Jared Verse is in his 2nd year. I don't know if anyone else kinda carries that weight. I know Colby Turner and Nate Landman kind of fill that role in terms of, like, captain perspective, but they're not Aaron Donald, they're not Von Miller. So it's gotta be a group effort with a team like this, and I'm hoping those players can continue to step up. And, Byron Young and Jared Verse, they feed off of each other, right? So, Jared Verse only has 6 sacks, but his boy Byron Young, his dynamic duo, he's got 11 sacks, which is, like, top 5 in the league, and Byron Young's never done that before. It's because he's playing across from Jared Verse and Colby Turner, you know?
Yeah.
So, yes, Jared Verse needs to be better, the defense needs to be better, the pass rush needs to be better, but I still trust that group, I trust Jared Verse. I think he has had a Pro Bowl caliber season, and I think he'll finish the year strong. I know we only got a few games left, but I expect him to have a big game this Thursday. This feels like a Jared Verse type game. Last time we played, Sam Darnold on that playoff game, I know he didn't do too much this last game, but he had that touchdown in
Yeah,
the playoffs,
that's
so
true.
let's get another Jared Verse touchdown this week against Seattle.
Dude, that if you somehow predict that, imagine Jared Verse scores a touchdown this Thursday, where we get to clip this and that would be awesome.
And I'm wearing the number 8,
Yeah,
so let's get a Jared Verse game this Thursday night. He's a prime time player, so
I
I'm
like
I'm calling him for a big game.
Jared Verse big game against Seattle. I like it. I like it a lot. But like you said, I do. I 1000% agree with your take on, Byron Young has 11 sacks because he's playing with Jared Verse and Kobe Turner. That's kind of similar to how, 5, 6 years ago, guys would have breakout seasons on the Rams because they were playing with Aaron Donald. Like Dante Fowler, the one year had, like, I forget how many sacks he had, but he was
He had
like,
like 10 and a half or something.
yeah. And he never did that another year in his career besides when he was with us. Same thing with Michael Brockers, a few other guys too that had, breakout seasons playing with Aaron Donald. It's the same thing. Like my take on Jared Verse was not for anybody listening was not for me to say, I'm not a fan. I love Jared Verse. I think he's the best player on our defense because he is the best player on our defense. I just would like to see more of his name on the stat sheet, which I know is tough when you're the number one targeted guy compared to the other team's offensive line. So I would just like to see, I'd like to see at least one sack on Thursday night. Like you said, big game out of Jared Verse. But speaking of Thursday night, I need a score prediction, Jordan. What is it?
Oh, man, this is a tough one. What was the score last time? Was it 21-19?
It was.
Okay, 21-19 last time. So, I think our offense will be cooking a little bit better than that. I think we'll get like a field goal, maybe 2. I think we'll score like 3 or 4 touchdowns. So I'm gonna say I'll say 27. I think it'll be a close one. I'm gonna say 27-24
Mm,
Rams. Defense holds up at the end to get a stop to win the game, and we need it out. I think it'll be a close one on the road in Seattle. But, I think I said this last week. We beat the Lions now. If we win this week, I'd have to look at it, but and then Green Bay lost to Denver. I
yeah.
feel like we're pretty much the 1 seed if we win this week, right? I mean, it's pretty much the now or never. So I think McVay knows that. Matthew Stafford knows that. The whole team knows that. Rivalry game. It's not quite San Fran rivalry. I don't quite hate Seattle that much, but I don't like Seattle. I could care less about Seattle, and I have no sympathy for Sam Darnold. I hope we tear him up again another game, and we come out strong this Thursday night. So I'll say 27-24, close road win for the Rams.
All right, I like it. I'm going to go a little bit lower scoring. I'm going to go Rams 20, Seahawks 16. I
Okay.
was I was not impressed with Seattle's offense this past week. They didn't score a touchdown against Indianapolis, which is a defense that has not played well in the last few weeks. They gave up 40-something points to Jacksonville the week prior. Seattle's offense at home against a banged-up Colts team only scored 18 points, 6 field goals, 0 touchdowns. Our defense can step up. According to my prediction, it would be 1 touchdown and 3 field goals. I'm completely fine with that. If we hold them to 16 points, I'd be shocked if we didn't win because the way this Rams offense is operating right now, I think even if you were to cut down our points from this week and cut them in half, I think we still win. But I'm going to cut the points in half from 41 to 20 or close to half, whatever. I'm going to cut it down in half because I am really sold on this Seahawks defense. I have heard nothing but great things. We've seen them. The last time we played them, we scored 21 points, but all 3 touchdowns were off of, I think we're off of turnovers from Sam Darnold or really good field possession. We didn't really have a whole drive where we went down, 65, 70 yards down the field and ran the ball down their throats or marched down the field and scored. It took turnovers and help from our defense to get to the Seahawks defense. So I'm going to say Rams 20, Seahawks 16. Rams win another low scoring game. They sweep the Seahawks and unofficially clinch the 1 seed because after Seattle, we have Atlanta and we have Arizona. If the Rams don't win both of those games, then we have a problem because those should both be wins. And I think you would agree with me on that, or any Rams fan would agree with me on that. So if we do win Thursday night, we're hypothetically looking at a 14-3 record. That would be the best record the Rams have ever had in my lifetime. The best record I think they've had since they went 14-2 in 2002. Would that be correct?
Yeah, the 2001-2002 season when they went 14-2.
Yeah. So this would be 14-3 if they win Thursday night. Obviously, you can't overlook Atlanta or Arizona because those are must wins, even if it's supposed to be an easy game. But Rams fans, buckle up because this is the biggest game of the year. We thought that last time we played the Seahawks, we said the same thing. We were like, oh, this is going to be the game of the year. This is going to be, must-see TV. I don't want to say it disappointed, but I think this game is going to be even better. I think this is going to be, even if it's low scoring, I think it's going to be a great game. This is for the 1 seed right here. And it's not like, oh, if you lose, all right, instead of the 1 seed, we'll just get the 2 seed. No, if you lose this game, you're the 5 seed or the 6 seed. So there's a
Yeah.
huge difference. There's a lot at stake on this game. I like our chances because we got the MVP and we have the better quarterback. They probably have the better defense, but I like our chances. Jordan, any last thoughts before we wrap this one up?
Yeah, feeling good after the Lions game. Let's keep up that momentum. We got a really tough opponent this week with the Seahawks. I think everyone knows that on the team. I think they're going to be ready and ready to respond. And, I'm feeling really good about this team right now. Like you said, we got the league MVP, Devontae Adams. I hope you get well soon. Please, we need you for this playoff run.
Absolutely.
But I'm confident this Thursday. I think we can win even without Devontae Adams. I'm expecting a really good game. I'm expecting an MVP performance from Matthew Stafford as well. So, horns up.
I like the sound of that. Horns up. Jordan, thank you once again. Another great episode in the books. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please subscribe to this channel. As we're recording this, we're at 99 subscribers. So we just need one more to hit 100 subscribers on this channel that we've really had for a few months. So I think that's pretty cool. I know 100 isn't a lot, but it's pretty cool to me. If you guys could subscribe, if you're watching this and you're a Rams fan, this is where all Rams faithful episodes are going to be. We also have the James Torillo Show, which is all LA sports and a mix of a bunch of things. So we have a lot to offer on this channel. If you guys could please subscribe, it'll be worth it. Trust me. So thank you so much. Rams on top. Huge game this Thursday. We will see you guys next time.